What beer?
Oh,
You have a beer?
maybe you don't want to say this live.
The Curado that we had with Arizona Wilderness. I guess
Yeah.
Puro up in Phoenix.
Yeah, they had,
and I guess Henderson's going to be there.
I know. Yeah, I was invited out, but I'm not driving to Arizona. I've seen Henderson.
Are you allowed? You're not allowed to do anything, are you?
No, dude. California now is officially, we're at state. We got an emergency thing to everybody's cell phone today that it's officially locked down again.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Officially, businesses only have carry out indoor. Now, a lot of businesses are not adhering to it at this point. And they're just going to open until because the
Sims is pissed.
Yeah. Because the what do you call it? The police, the chief of police said they're not going to enforce it.
Oh, perfect.
So businesses we're locked down, but no one's going to go enforce. Orange County and Riverside County said we're not going to enforce the shutting down. So
I feel like that doesn't help.
No, but you have a big turmoil between the governor and then local,
the mayors and the different.
Side note: Willie just texted me. He's finishing up an event right now. He'll be with us very shortly.
Our guest is going from an event to our show. That is that is intense. I feel
where you can always come over there and hang out with just little old me. I'll be up there Thursday night.
Sims.
But and they have the quarantine thing. So I'm not
need a drink. Hold down the fort.
But
holding it down, I guess.
I like how he's in his PJs. He's in sweats and his dude. I just they're right down by the office. There's a new brewery I just found out about called Green Cheek, and dude, their stuff is awesome, and they have it set up for drive-through right now. Nice. So you just drive your car up. They give you the menu and they bring you the beer to your car, and you take off.
Did you comment on my pajama pants, Jerry?
I did. I was like, I like how you're dressed. Oh,
pajama pants, Brandon.
Pajama.
Those are my
night. On my pajama pants.
Well, listen,
I watched a video today of a lady. Yes, he did, Jennifer.
What I missed? Yeah.
Hey Tim. Sim said that Brandon just man bun out for a beverage. It's probably like a triple mocha latte, so you can drink it with his.
No, it's way more basic than that. It's Bud Light.
Oh, so even more hipster.
No, it'd be PBR. It'd be the ultimate.
Yeah, I hate PBR. PBR is gross.
Oh, shush! They're all the same. When you get to that level, it's just a crushable beer that tastes good cold.
I guess so, Jeremy. I guess I'll take your word for that. I've tried PBR and.
Hey Brandon, will you send it? He says send the link again. I can't find it.
Oh, it was okay. He must get a lot of emails because I just sent it. So let's send this.
He is kind of a big deal.
He is.
So,
this is maybe
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yes, for sure.
Maybe. Hey, did we get a writer to make sure we had the unicorns in the room?
Did he need a Game Boy Color?
Hoobastank.
Hoobastank. All right, let me see.
He may not know it's from you. You know what I mean?
I put in the subject 4 shots link.
Okay, that should.
Okay, that should work. Link. Click here, Willie. I put in the subject, and I am sending again. We'll see you soon, Willie.
Tim, if you're still watching, put a link to what you got going on in the comments. Everybody's going to check out what Tim's got going on. Hopefully we'll have him on the show here at the beginning of next year. But Tim, if you're still on, feel free to self-promote.
It's after 5. It's 5:02.
Oh, it is 5:02. I guess that means we're going to go live. I hope that our guest gets here soon. Let me click.
Yeah.
Oh, you ready to go? Ready to
I was born ready.
I know.
There it is.
1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. Four shots.
Hello and welcome to Four Shots, almost Christmas edition.
Almost
Christmas edition.
But it kind of feels like Christmas. All my lights are up. I made a paper mache snowman.
I haven't done any Christmas stuff at all. I'm kind of like, I'm trying not to be too Christmassy this year.
You want to be a bah humbug Scrooge McDuck?
Grinch, yeah, I'm going Grinch this year for sure. But anyway, welcome to Four Shots. We have figured out kind of what we are. We're a lifestyle show. We talk to makers, artisans, cigar spirits. I think next week we have a guy that does leather stuff on. But yeah, that's basically what we're all about while we get drunk, right? We get drunk while we're doing it. Every week we have a guest. And the first segment is called, I don't know, I can't think of it. What's our first segment called?
Fresh shit.
Okay, I'm blanking today. I'm having brain farts today. First segment is fresh shit, where we bring on our guests and talk about something that we all did this week. Then we get into the interview portion of the show, where things get a little bit deeper, and then at the end we bring a live guest on for shoot your shot to ask any questions any of our studio audience may have. Real quick, I want to do some housekeeping. Please share us on any of your streaming platforms: Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere else you consume your media. Also, if you would share us live, we'd really appreciate it. We're doing a contest this month for the people that share the show live the most, and afterwards we got some cool stuff to add. With that being said, Jeremy, would you like to introduce our guest for the week?
Is our guest on?
Yes.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grandmas and grandpas, we'd like to welcome to Four Shots our good friend and just a good dude and master blender and tall guy, all the descriptives you want to throw out there, our good friend Willie Herrera.
What's up, fellas?
How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Can't complain. Everything is good.
I'm
enjoying this nice little cool weather we got down here in Miami. Finally.
I'll actually be down there Monday with Robert, so I'm looking forward. Nice. I live in Ohio, so it's 30.
Oh, you're really cold.
Yeah, it's 35 degrees here.
Woo.
So looking forward.
It was 80 today in California. 80 Damn. With Santa Ana winds.
Oof. No bueno.
No, I don't do well in heat. I mean, look, this was not built for speed or heat. I think I was supposed to be born with a cloud cover and wool or something. For the.
You have to wear SPF 1000 everywhere you go.
Yeah, and then you have to reapply it every 10 minutes.
So you don't get tan, bro? Well, you just get real red. You peel and you get red again. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I get 3 shades: white, pink, and red. So right now I'm in the pink phase,
Right.
And then and then red when I burn, and then it peels off, and it's like I think cancer just comes out. Like I think it's that's what am I gonna do? I was not blessed with pigment.
Let's do a shot and get into our fresh shit. What do you say? Cheers.
Oh man.
Cheers.
Oh, Jeremy.
Well, is he gonna play the bumper?
Oh yeah.
Shot number 1.
All right.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. So, Willie, every week we ask our guest about something good that's happened to them this week. Doesn't have to be cigar related, just some good news that you had, or something cool, or something that's fresh in your life, or something that you want to share in our fresh shit segment. And Brandon, I think
that is one big pile of shit.
I don't feel so good.
The mother rhino is giving birth.
Its wrapper is a piece of the original U.S. Constitution.
Coming out of me like lava.
At the rate you're carrying on, that's a small fortune going up in smoke. I like smoking.
Well, you're really doing it, aren't you? You're shitting in the street.
I never get tired of seeing that.
Dude, how do you find all those clips, man?
That's Brandon. He'll I'm sure he'll pop in here eventually, but Brandon does all that. He's he's behind the scenes, our producer.
Except for the very last moment, there's a picture, and that is a picture my 7-year-old daughter drew of a man pooping in the forest. I don't know why she drew it, but she drew it and gave it to me, and I was like, guys, this should go in that segment.
Oh, that's great.
I'm making some really intelligent children, as you can see.
Absolutely. So, Willie, what do you got this week that is new or cool or anything going on that you want to talk about?
Dude, I got to move in back into my house. That's like a huge monumental thing for me this week.
Okay. You weren't living in your house?
No, we've been living for the last 5 months in a trailer next to the house because of construction going on inside the house. So finally this week they finished the tile, they finished the walls and painting and all that, and we got to move back in, man. So very excited right now.
Yeah, you get your own bed, your own bathroom. That's It's funny. I'm actually here, which is I guess mine too. It's just that it transitions. Is that I'm in a warehouse where my band practices because my bathroom is being redone right now. And I normally do this whole setup on Tuesday nights from the comfort of my garage and my lounge. Because he's cutting and sawing, I was like, I guess I can't do it there. So I have been booted out of my own house as well, but I'm still going to go sleep there.
Well, you got a little bit better than I did, man.
Yeah.
So you decided to basically just do the whole house at one time and.
Yeah, man. So we had a flood back in May. The hose that connects to the back of the fridge that for the ice maker and the water dispenser and all that busted, and it must have happened somewhere, I don't know, around 8 or 9 at night. Everybody had gone to bed already, and so when we woke up the next day, there was water everywhere in the house.
Oh, no.
And that was in May, and so that's when this whole ordeal happened. And then, the whole beauty of working, fighting insurance companies and this and that and adjusters coming out. And long story short, they finally started working in the house about 5 months ago. And so basically they had to gut the house. I mean, there was water under the tile.
I would imagine
it was just a mess, man. And so we got a trailer and parked it next to the house, so at least we have access to the house somewhat. Garage, the barbecue, and able to cook at least outdoors or whatnot. But yeah, man, it's been hectic, bro. So 4 of us, 4 big people in a trailer plus 2 dogs. It ain't fun.
So you were kind of living WT for a little bit, like rednecking it, in the trailer, the whole thing.
It's a comfortable trailer. Don't get me wrong, man. It's comfortable, king size bed where my wife and I are. The kids have bunk beds. It's a big trailer. Comfortable bathroom, but dude, at the end of the day, it's a trailer, bro. And then the kids they're doing everything virtual. So you got an 11-year-old doing a virtual school. Then you have a 16-year-old doing virtual school. And oh my God, man, what a nightmare.
Yeah. It's funny. I found out that the tub needed to be replaced because it's 2-story. And I went down and there was water coming from the ceiling into the kitchen. So there was a hole in the tub, and it had been, it was so minuscule. So when the tub was ripped out, there's all this mold, and of course it's a bigger project. So like the guy was like, I'll knock this out in 2 days. And now it's like, it's going to be somewhere about January 15th because of time of year and
holidays and vacation.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, but 4 shots remodeling kitchens.
This is the remodel edition.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, at least I'm back in the house, bro.
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations on that. I don't really have any fresh hit, but I do have a story that I'll share also about home, since we're talking about home remodeling. I just moved. I just bought a house, and
congratulations.
I'm moving out of a 1,000 square foot condo, so it's been interesting filling but the house now is about 4,500 square feet. So filling that with furniture and all that crap has been quite the adventure. But I went to list my condo the other day and realized, speaking of leaks, that in the basement, when they built the place, they did it was like one of those like chop shop, like get it done as fast as you can. So I'm finding all these little problems. And they welded in the ceiling these pipes. They put them in, and they did such a bad job welding that they melted the PVC for the drain and burnt a bunch of wood. And it's been leaking constantly since 1989.
Oh, geez.
And it has been so small of a drip that I didn't even realize until I looked up at the ceiling in the basement, and it was just complete black mold. So it's been that's another thing that's been a nightmare. But moving on, this is the first question we usually ask everybody. What was the first cigar you had or experience you had that got you into like the craft stuff, like craft whiskeys and artisanship? And what was that one like aha moment that you had that you were like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm doing, like, this is why I'm going to be in this business or be the creative that you are? That's kind of where our first question goes.
Well, for me, I started smoking cigars back when I was, 14, 13, 15, somewhere around there. And I would remember going to my aunt's house, and then her dad, I guess, I don't know what that makes him to me, was always with a cigar in his mouth. And I always loved that aroma, that smell that was always in the air, whatnot. 14-year-old. So I would walk down the street by my house, and kind of like a cafeteria. And then, you would buy your fresh made Cuban bread there, your coladas, your, medianoches, whatever it was. But if you would get there early enough, you could buy for 50 cents the ball of dough before they stretch it out to make the Cuban bread. And so I would buy that ball of dough, and that's what I would take in the canals, and I would go fishing all around the house and stuff, and they're in the neighborhood. And they would always have those, Optimals and God knows what, 15 cents, 25 cents, cigars on the counter. And so because I would always see my aunt's husband smoking and that smell, I wanted to smell and do the same thing. So I would buy these cigars and I would smoke them out when I was out fishing, riding bike around, and just smoking cigars, man. But it wasn't until probably somewhere in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I took a week off of work. I was in banking, have been in banking at that point for about 6.5, almost 7 years. But my wife's grandparents and mom had or have a cigar factory in Little Havana. And so the grandfather was the only male, person in the factory. And so he had gone sick. And so I took a week off of work, vacation time, and worked that week in the factory to be a male there for my wife's grandmother and her mom. And it was after that week where I was like, man, this is what I want to do. This is totally different from banking. The people you dealt with, everybody was always happy. There was never a problem. You're smoking cigars all day. You're smelling the stuff all day. You're staring at these rollers create these cigars all day, and it was just mesmerizing to me. It was amazing. And dude, I went back to the bank. I put in my 2 weeks notice, and I quit, and I started the factory. And that's when I really started learning about the industry. Up to that point, I was just a smoker. I, didn't know anything. There was no social media back then. Nothing that I could remember, at least YouTube videos or any of that stuff. And so, that's when I started learning. And, when I started at the factory, we basically had two types of cigars. And that's all we made, and that's what we sold, and we couldn't make enough of them. But they weren't the cigars that I was accustomed to smoking at that point. And so I was constantly buying cigars, and that's what I was smoking in the factory all day. And so, anybody who knows an older Cuban dude, they're very proud of what they make or what they own, what they have. And so for a while, it was okay that I kept smoking other cigars other than the ones that we were making, our own cigars. But he wasn't liking it too much. So I said, you know what? I got to figure out something here for these guys to make for me that I will enjoy. So I won't have to keep buying cigars and smoke other cigars in our factory.
Right.
And I'll smoke one of our own. And that went on for a little bit, but the rollers get paid by how many cigars they roll a day. In our factory, they're maxed out at 125 cigars a day. So what ended up happening was, every day I was hounding them. Okay, let's do this wrapper, let's do this binder, and use a little bit more of this Ligero, and let's use this binder, and so on and so on, just making different combinations and stuff. And they were running short on what they had to make every day. So now they had 5 cigars, or they had to come in earlier the next day to complete what they were supposed to make the day before. So that became a problem. So then I said, you know what? I'm going to learn how to make cigars. And so I kind of taught myself how to make a cigar. And I would look at what they were doing. Then I would go to my little station in the back. I'd grab tobacco and try to mimic what they were doing to bunching the cigars, filling the molds. Then once I learned that, then I taught myself how to put the wrapper on the cigars and just taught myself how to do it, man. So I could keep playing and creating stuff that I would like to smoke myself in the factory. And that's kind of how it all started for me, man. Like I tell people, it all started out of necessity for me. I needed to learn how to make a cigar so I could have something for me to smoke in the factory.
It's interesting to me that like you came in and then you're basically like, oh, I want to smoke something that I want to smoke, right? And your menu is limited, and because like from the consumer end, it's very much right the same thing in the sense that a lot of people get into cigars and then they want something specific out of that cigar, right. And then that's obviously why you end up trying multiple, like, you move around, you try different blends, you try things to kind of like familiarize yourself with different nuances that are in these types of tobaccos or whatnot. And it might not be like a cognitive, like I'm looking for something, but there is like, people are always wanting to try what's new. Brand loyalty is very different today than what it was, 20 years ago with people that only smoked the, Macanudo Hyde Park or like, and we're in an industry where it's like constantly like, we come out with a cigar, and I know this is the same for you. And 2 days later, everyone's like, "Well, what's next? What do you got coming next?" As if like it's like, hold on.
I've been at the IPCPR or PCA now at a show, introducing what's new at the show, and people ask me, "So, what are you working on? What's new?" And I'm like, it's on the shelf, man.
Right, right there.
You don't even have it yet, but they're already, and it's natural. You're doing an event, you're visiting shops. Hey, so what's new? What are you working on? That's always the first question you get. What are you working on? What's new? Man, this just was released. You haven't even had it yet. It's crazy.
It's bizarre how much our industry has changed, and it is what it is at this point, but it's been turned into kind of like, every night of the week you want a different dish, right? Like the days of like, my mom would make a dish at the beginning of the week and we ate it all week until it was done. She just, and made big batches of it. It was leftovers. There wasn't like, hey, what's for dinner? It was like, and it's just a different era of that. Like, because like, when I got into cigars, I remember there was still a ton of cigars, but the menu was still very much more limited compared to what it is now,
Absolutely.
and the expectation of manufacturers. Like, okay, you've had something on the market. Oh, I've tried that. What else do they have? And it's like, well, did you like it? Like, do you want to go back and smoke it again? Maybe buy a box of it, like, but it's like commitment problems or something. They don't want to like commit to beyond tasting.
I'm sorry that I missed a couple minutes there, but Mr. Caldwell just FaceTimed me to tell Willie to send him some fucking Lanceros.
We'll take care. Is he's in town now?
Yeah, and he said and he said you could come over because he bought a portable grill for a space heater because it's 65 degrees in Miami and he's cold. So, but he sends his best to you. And he wants.
Hello, we gotta get together, man, for sure.
Let's do a shot. What do you guys think?
Let's do it.
Shot number 2.
Cheers.
So I thought it would be cool to, you and I spoke, and I told this story about my introduction to you, Willie, but I find it like super interesting because like by default, I've kind of gotten to see the, well, you were already in the industry and you were already doing something, but from like your time moving away from El Teton to like Drew Estate. And so I was on a cigar safari, as many of you have known, back when I was a retailer. A lot of you guys have done this experience. It's a fantastic experience. And I think it was like 2010 or 11, somewhere in that time frame. I went on it. And while we were there, Willie was at the factory. And I remember they introduced us to you and like, oh, he's been brought aboard and he's going to be coming out, or they were kind of like secretive or whatever. Like, right. But you were sitting in the factory with like all the other rollers. You had your headphones on and you're just like jamming out, rolling stuff and doing prototypes. And like you were gracious and you said hello to all of us that were in the group as retailers. And then you gave us some samples to try. And this is pre-Herrera Esteli, like all that. And I imagine that those prototypes were maybe what you were going to become and what would become Herrera Esteli. And it's such a fun experience because I met this guy and I'm like, oh, like he's super nice. Thank you for these cigars. I smoked them and I enjoyed them, and then moments later, you're now in the whole like DE, like world. And, out comes the beginning of the multitude of releases that you have blended for them and under them. And it's funny because, like, it's not like I expect or think like you would remember that, moment. But for me, I was a retailer and I went on behalf of our shop. So, like, I was sent as the, like, hey, go learn. And it was my first experience into the cigar world on the manufacturing side to see it. And like we did the Hoya de Nicaragua like tour, and it like blew my mind because like I thought I was so arrogant as like I don't know how old I was, 20-something year old 20-something, thinking like I know stuff about cigars just because I smoke them, you know, because like we're very self-appointed in this industry, like our knowledge, like I'm, you know, like there's not necessarily like with wine school and things of that nature, like to go become a certified sommelier. It's kind of just you learn the trade. And it was neat for me though, because like it was the first time I ever got to see someone like go from like, oh, you're coming aboard to then this product launching, you know, aside from the actual aspects of manufacturing. But I got to see like, oh, wow. Like when you came out with the cigar and I saw a picture, I'm like, oh, that's the dude I met, you know, because I didn't have a rapport. I didn't know you at that point. Right. And it was kind of a special moment for me because I got to like feel like I was a part of something. I know I had no influence on your blend. If I had said, this is great or it's horrible, you would have been like, cool, kid. You know, like, thanks so much for your knowledge, you know, for your input. And then it would have been in one ear and out the other. But like, you know, for me, I was like, oh, I got to smoke samples of like, you know, I got to nerd out on that. And it was a cool moment for me. So this is fun to like have you in this realm, you know, years later. You've obviously not saying you weren't in a good spot, but you've come up like, you know.
Oh, definitely, man. I was a newbie back then, man. All I knew was my little factory down here in Miami. You know, at the time, I think we had 4 or 5 rollers, 7 or 8 different types of tobacco, and you had basically had to get really, really creative with the limited amount of tobaccos that you had in order to make different cigars for the different people. So, you know, I came on to Drew, and you know, now you have endless supplies of tobaccos from all over the world, you know, different wrappers, different binders, different fillers, different primings, different farms, different, you name it. And so, you know, I remember when you came, and a lot of other people that came by when I first started with Drew Estate, I was living in Nicaragua for that first almost year and a half. Then I joined the company and I started working on became Herrera Esteli Habano. I was on the floor with the rest of the rollers, going to the back, grabbing my tobacco.
It's one of the best cigars I've ever smoked, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're good.
I love that cigar. That cigar's magic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, trying to create something special, trying to create something new to the Drew Estate portfolio, something, you know, that was going to speak, you know, on my behalf, you know what I mean? And so I was learning as well, because it was another animal for me, man. I mean, I came from, you know, little Titan to Drew Estate, you know, and it was a big. I tell people all the time that was my college education. Up to that point, it was just middle school, high school, and my little factory here, and then I went to Drew for my master's is what I got at Drew, you know, and so it's, you know, it's evolved to where I'm at now. I never came on board, you know, to be the plan was never for me to be the master blender, for me to create all the stuff for Drew. The plan was simply for me to come on board and expand the traditional side of cigars for Drew Estate, add and bring into Drew Estate that Cuban influence, that Cuban style of blending, Cuban style of making cigars. And then, you know, it led to, you know, where I'm at now. And it's been a great journey, man. It's been great. It's been fun.
What's been your biggest, I have a 2-parter question, but what's been the biggest challenge you think you've had with that transition of going from, you know, that size of a factory at the Titan de Bronze to all the things that Drew Estate has going on? I mean, that had to be like incredibly overwhelming to kind of go from those two things. And what was the kind of like the biggest challenge you faced as far as trying to get, your mental state ready to, from, like you said, Titan de Bronze made a couple cigars. Drew Estate makes a couple hundred different cigars. I mean, that's a big leap. You know what I mean? So I'm just curious to see if like you had any challenges along the way that you could speak of.
There were all types of challenges, man. The biggest challenge was being away from home. Up to that point, I never traveled. I was always in Miami. I might have gone, up to that point, I might have traveled 5 or 6 or 7 times. And that was 1 or 2 days and come right back to do an event or something like that. But up to that point, I never traveled. I never stayed at a hotel, unless I was with the family in Disney World or something. So that was a big challenge, was basically being away from home, Monday through Friday, get back on a plane on Saturday morning or Friday night, come home for the weekend and fly back to Nicaragua either Sunday night or Monday morning. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was just getting to know and learn the culture in Nicaragua, getting to learn the people in the factory, earning the respect of everybody in the factory, getting them to accept me and to see me as just another regular person, just like them. And that's why I would sit in the middle of the factory, just like everybody else, grab my tobacco, just like everybody else, make my own cigars like everybody else, and just be one of them, So that was another challenge. And then the third challenge was, all this new tobacco that I had never seen, all these different types of seed varieties and countries of origin, and the way they make cigars was very different from the way we make our cigars in Miami. We do cigars the old Cuban traditional way, entubado, triple seam, the triple cap. It was very different from the way we make cigars in Nicaragua. So, I mean, it was just all kinds of different things, man, all piled together. And, it was a year and a half of going through all of that to really, grow and learn more about the industry, learn and love the country, love the people. And, I wouldn't change it for anything, man.
Awesome. Well, they're calling for us to have another beverage. So
yes.
So just cheers to overcoming and to getting to where you're at.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then I've got a nice little follow up for that.
Cool.
Shot number 3.
No hair on your chest.
I know.
Guys, we might actually do 4 shots tonight. Just wanted to point that out. It's 38 minutes in. We might do 4.
No, we'll have to make it 5 because then it would be like,
weird
right. If we actually followed suit.
But I mean, it's not to say that our other guys aren't interesting. It's just I'm just very fascinated, and I don't want to interrupt with shots all the time.
We have to keep. We were told we have to keep it classy with you. That's what they said.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy Stark. That would require Tony and I to be classy, which we're not. So I'm not wearing an undershirt. That's my tattoo.
Tattoos. Yeah.
So you were saying when you came and you had limited amount of tobaccos and you had to get very creative in ways to bring out, different blends using very few, different sources of leaves. Going from that to obviously, like, to me, that's almost like you become kind of the in and out. Like you take very simple ingredients and you make a really good, like, a product with that because you're limited. So you end up kind of really honing in the skills of like those tobaccos and getting to know them very, very intimately. So what you can do. When you went and then basically you had a playground of resources of different tobaccos, like, was it a challenge to kind of like step away from like, well, I know these very intimately and I want to use these over here? Or was it more so of like all hell broke loose? Like you just get to go and have a playground and mess with every single different thing to like learn it.
Well, that was the challenge, man. The challenge was trying to keep control and not just go crazy grabbing everything and not just grabbing everything and putting everything together without really getting to know it. I had to kind of step back and slow down a little bit because I wasn't giving it the time. I was just rolling and rolling and blending without really getting to know all the different types of tobaccos. But it was learning. There was a lot of learning, man, because I went into that first cigar knowing what wrapper I wanted to use. I knew I wanted to do something with Habano because at that point Drew Estate didn't have anything with Ecuadorian Habano. That was a big, still is one of my favorite wrappers. So I knew I wanted to do that. Then the fun part began. Okay, what binder am I going to use? We have this binder, we got that binder.
Right.
When I was only used to two, we had Nicaraguan Habano in a factory here at that point, and we had Ecuador, and that was it. And you had to get creative. You had to do double binders, or you had to do double up Nicaraguan, or you just had to get creative, man, with what we had. Sometimes, if you got some really nice binder, because binder usually is what doesn't make wrapper great. So sometimes we will get some really nice looking binders and say, oh man, this will make a great wrapper. And we'd start using that in some cigars to come up with something with that. You just have to get creative, man. And that's just how it was.
You know what's funny is the conclusion of my story in that cigar safari is at the end of it, right? They took you into a room and we get to blend our own cigar. And I remember you joined in and Steve Saka was there. And you basically had a menu of tobaccos. And I don't know if they still do us that way or whatnot.
They do.
But you'd select and I'm sitting there like, hell yeah, I'm going to make a strong ass cigar. And I'm putting all this, and you kind of came around like a tutor would. And you looked at my sheet and you're like, that's not going to burn. And I was like, what does he know? Because I think I had like 90% Ligero, like 3 or 4 leaves of like Esteli Ligero on like a Connecticut wrapper or something. Like I thought like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And so then they would roll you like a 10-pack, and it was a gift for like joining going on the cigar safari. Right. And I remember Jose Blanco, and we're all sitting outside like playing dominoes. And I'm like, I'm going to smoke one of my cigars. And like, 1, I couldn't keep it lit. And 2, it tasted like shit, And what was so funny is just because I was like, I didn't know there were rules to like blending. It's like, well, I want to use this, this, and this. But like thickness of the leaf, will it burn at the same ratio of the binder as all that kind of stuff I had no knowledge of. Right. But it was so fun. And what's funny is I didn't end up smoking all of those, and I kept them. And during COVID, I was like, oh, that's one I rolled back there, or I had rolled. It does finally burn. It only took 12 years.
Probably 20% humidity.
Right. It finally burns. And now it's like a polished turd, And I was just like, wow. But, it kind of shows me where I was at, and it's like experience, knowledge, any of that kind of stuff. Like you just, when you don't know, you smoke a cigar and you have no idea the artisan and the level of like craftsmanship that goes into it until you see it. And and that's what's like, over the years, as I've been in the factory, like with Caldwell, I'll play with tobaccos and do things. And it's like, sometimes you have this idea, oh, I would like to try this with this and try this binder, try this. And like, sometimes it's just god awful. And that's actually what surprises me is when you look at the industry as a whole, how many like quality cigars there are on the market today just shows the level of craftsmanship. Like, a lot of times we look at something and smoke it and, well, I don't like it. Well, that doesn't make it not a good cigar. Right. Like it's if it's balanced and it does what and it burns construction wise, like that is a fine premium cigar. After that, it's all just subjective of like, but people smoke it and they go, oh, this is awful. And it's like, it's not awful.
It's like,
it's just.
I agree, and I have a point to that. Then we'll get to Sims's question. But Willie, I went to school for wine originally, and one of the things they tell you at wine school, and I think we've talked about it on the show before, is like when you are evaluating a wine for whatever reason as a sommelier, quote unquote, that the difference between a bad wine and a good wine is if there's something actually wrong with the wine. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that. Like if there's a bacterial infection in the wine or something that's actually wrong with it makes it a bad wine. Just because you don't like it doesn't make it a bad wine. And I think a lot of people get kind of disillusioned by when you get presented with a glass of wine, you buy a $500 bottle of wine and you smell it and you don't like it, and they turn it away. But that's not the point of it. You know what I mean? The point of it is to smell whether or not is a good or bad wine, if it's actually physically good or bad. And I think in cigars, people get way too hypercritical, whereas it, like you said, it all is a personal preference and a personal taste. And that's why there's so many cigars that exist in the market and so many good cigars. And I'm wondering, if, when we make cigars with Caldwell and La Barba, it kind of all started out with, like you said, like our personal preferences. And now we're learning to make cigars for other people. And I think that that's a milestone that any company, has to overcome, because initially, like you said, you were making cigars for you. Right. And now you have to make them for everyone. So that's a big jump in kind of learning tobacco, I think. But Sims had a question on I want to get to, and her question was, what's been the greatest lesson you've learned in your history within our cigar industry?
How small it really is, man. You walk into a shop and you see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different cigars, different brands, different companies, different cigar lines. But when you really look at it, it's a handful of tobacco growers. It's a handful of places of suppliers, tobacco suppliers. So it boils down to, what you create with that tobacco. Because, when I was still in my factory here in Miami, I had no idea who Oliva was, who ASP was, who Arganosa was. I had no idea. I just knew the people that we ordered tobacco from. And so now I'm in Nicaragua and I'm seeing, oh, wow. So we use tons and tons of tobacco from this company and so when you look at it, there's probably 3 or 4, maybe 5 that Drew Estate uses. And that's it. Now they have tobacco and they grow tobacco in different parts of the world, different countries. They have multiple farms and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a handful of tobacco suppliers or farmers. And to me, that was like, whoa, that's crazy. How are there so many cigars and they all taste different coming out of the same places, basically.
It's to me, it's kind of like music. You deal with a certain amount of notes, right? But how you
got 7.
Yeah, there's 7 notes, and there's endless amounts of songs that have been out, that are different. And I think it's kind of the same concept where it's all expressed through the personal. It's very personal, because like every time I smoke a Herrera cigar, I know what I'm getting into, and I know your palate. It's the same with when I smoke a Lucione. Like when I smoke the stuff that Dion does, it's like I know Dion's palate, and I can taste that in that cigar. And the same with Robbie, and the same with my own cigars. I hope that I can translate to my guys that every time you smoke something from me, it's going to be at the expression of my palate. And I think that's what's so kind of like oddly romantic about the cigar business, right? Is that's our job, so to speak.
And you know what I love? So here's a question that kind of like falls in line with that musical whole thing. So like El Titan was kind of like the small indie label, right? That like has these artists that they are not necessarily looking to be mainstream pop artists, but it's like more the creativity and want to like, you know, the musicality. They want to like push something more so kind of in my mind as like a passion thing. And then you go to Drew Estate and they're more like the big label, right? So our expectations, were they different? And I don't mean it in a negative way towards them, because like they started off in the same fashion, you know, at a little kiosk, and like they humped and built a brand when people were like, you're never going to make it making infused cigars and doing this. And like, we were all wrong, because they made it and then made it over again. And you know what I mean? Like what they've accomplished and what is amazing. But was there a difference in expectations for like what you produce? Because like one is feeding a small arena and one is feeding the world, you know, like is there different and especially because when you came in, I mean, the non-infused cigars was Chateau Real, you know, and you had the natural, the Maduro, and then Liga had been on the market for a short period of time, but Liga was definitely still in its like craze of just insanity. So was there like pressure, like I got to make this cigar a stud because like of what you were dealing with? Like, oh, the only non-infused, the Chateau Real didn't do much, but like Liga obviously kind of changed our industry in a lot of ways. You know, was there a pressure that you had to deal with in like, is this cigar has to be like a home run?
It was my own pressure, man. You know, it was never from them. They never rushed. Hey, man, where's the blend? You know, how's the blending coming along? Where are the cigars? Let's try some samples. You know, what? None of that ever happened. It was more the pressure I kept putting on myself, trying to create something that, in my eyes, was going to be wow, something that I was going to fall in love with. You know, and nothing was ever good enough. I mean, that's why it took. I think it was like a year and a half or a little bit longer before Herrera Habano came out. It just, nothing was ever right. Nothing was ever what I was looking for. And so, yeah, it was just my own pressure of making sure it was going to be what I thought it had to be. Not from DE. They never once say, hey, man, you know, you're going on a year now and we still don't have a cigar. What's up? That never happened.
Well, we're getting pressure for shots, so.
So we're hitting number 4.
So cheers.
Shot number 4.
Salute.
Cheers.
Salute.
I just wanted to take this shot break to voice my umbrage with Robbie, since he's in the bumper for shot number 4. I take umbrage with the fact that Mr. Caldwell would FaceTime you while you're live on our show earlier tonight, rather than simply, I don't know, he could come on the show and talk to Willie himself. We could have had a meeting of the minds. But
I told him to, and he said, nah. He goes, nah, I got a fucking fuckload of shit I got to do with Davidoff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's 10 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock.
He could FaceTime you.
Brandon, I think you just answered it. Rob's a dick. That's why he FaceTimed Tony while we're doing this, because he was like,
well, he FaceTimed me twice, and I didn't answer. And I'm like, dude, the show, and we got Willie on. And he's like, no, fuck that. Mute your mic, and I got to show you my space heater. And then he was like, and then tell Willie to send me more Lanceros.
Listen, I would have loved if you'd have just held Robbie's face up to your.
I was going to, but I didn't want to interrupt Willie, so I just had to.
I get that. Also, we had the greatest comment. I want to give an award out for this comment. It's my favorite comment we've had. I think that we should put this in a La Barba advertisement.
Every time I smoke a La Barba, I unbutton my shirt. That's a new shelf talker right there.
Yeah, and to anybody that has any questions about that, everybody's like, "Oh, you're like a little Robbie that unbuttons a shirt." I'm Italian American and I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. We haven't buttoned a shirt since 1950, so it's very close to Miami with the buttoning. Okay, So just throwing that out there.
Sure.
But Willie, last Willie, last question I have for you. Jeremy told me, and I didn't know this, that you were a fantastic baseball player, and maybe cigar.
No, not at all, bro. Baseball? No.
Oh,
No.
maybe I was obviously mistaken then.
No, Jeremy, I thought we thought you
mixed-
were a pro. We thought you were a pro ball player at one point.
No.
Okay.
I could have hit a ball if my life depended on it, bro.
Maybe it's just your physique. You look built like you could be like, because I don't know, like, what is that? Like cognitive memory or whatever it's called. Like I have this association with you, which is obviously incorrect, that I thought for some reason you were like a ball player, or maybe it was me like, wishing I was you and thinking like, because I wanted to play ball, he looks like he plays ball. I have no idea, but obviously, I'm what you call fake news.
Well, that has been debunked.
So what are do you have like hobbies outside of, cigar making?
Dude, hobbies, anything outdoors, man. So if it involves boating, I'm in. If it involves four-wheeling, I'm in. If it involves, pretty much anything outdoors, man. Fishing, hiking, ATVing, getting muddy, getting stuck in mud pits, scuba diving, snorkeling, anything outside, man. I'm in. Love it.
Have you gone out to see the guys in Bend, Oregon, at the Cigar Chapel? If you get a chance, they're very good friends of ours. If you go out there to do an event, that you don't have to even do the event, because Jeremy and I went out there and we didn't even do the event. The event
we showed up late and it was done, and then we just partied.
Yeah, but like
we were only an hour late too.
Right. So he does business like a champ, like in and out, get your cigars, get out. And then you go and you do the fun shit. But in Bend, Oregon, like the skiing, they go four-wheeling. He's a great. He wasn't he like a guide at one point?
River Ranch, her, Michelle.
Oh, Michelle Stewart.
No, I think Tony. He was a professional baseball player.
That's the one.
That's the one. I just mixed them up. Bend, Oregon, white bearded guy. That's it.
Hey, no. I've even done noodling, bro.
Oh, have you?
Catfish noodling?
Yeah.
That's cool.
I've gone frog yet, though.
I've gone frog gigging. My family's all from Alabama, so I've done. I'm surprised I haven't done noodling because of the fact that, it's deep south, man. Like they're into that shit, But frog gigging is fun,
I'm sure it is, man. I've never done it. I love airboats.
And then you get to fry up those legs, man, and eat up those frogs, and it's like.
How do you season them, bro? Before you fry them, do you put it in flour and then fry them,
like a little breading? Yeah,
okay.
Bread them like a chicken wing.
Really? So you put the seasoning in the flour?
Yeah, and it tastes delicious.
I know. I've had them.
Yeah.
We have a minute and a half left, and we're at shot 4. So do you want to do one just so we don't have to, because we didn't?
Yeah.
Get 5, I think.
All right.
We've never done 4 shots on the show.
It's always been higher.
With Juan Cancel, we did 15.
Oh.
Yeah, we were. It was a messed up Wednesday for us.
Yeah. It was not a non-existent Wednesday.
I was like, man, something happened when I turned 40 that it just changed overnight, and it was like, nope, can't do that. No.
Brandon,
railroad.
How many bumpers do you have now, Brandon?
So I have up to 9 official bumpers now, and I have the stuff to make a 10th. But what's weird is since I made them up to this point, we have been surprisingly tame on the shot taking for the last couple episodes. But I think that's only because you guys have gotten more into a rhythm with interviewing our guests. I have to commend you guys for really getting good at this over the last episode. So I think that at first you guys were taking shots faster because you were more nervous, but you guys seem to way more relaxed now than when we first started doing this.
Well, yeah, and I think we've had too many brutal Wednesday mornings. Like everyone's like just like, hey, do shots, and it's like you do fucking shots. Like this is hard work, man. We're getting drunk and stupid for you. I don't think so. Not for free. I'm not some cheap whore you can just buy off with shots.
Right. I think that the chat definitely has an influence on this though. When the chat all starts calling for shots, it does happen. Like I definitely see that. Or as Stark says, or because Tony ate a whole box of cereal and we thought he stroked out.
And I found my phone in the dryer.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to drunk text anyone. So
that's a dangerous game, the drunk text. Let's do shot number 5.
Shot number 5.
Cheers.
I have been trying to track down somebody to come on for our final segment. Willie, we normally have somebody from our audience. Oh, Maisha says she is willing to come on and shoot her shot. So, Maisha, I am going to send you the link to come on the show. Man, I was just about to give up on shoot your shot.
Willie, Maisha is behind the SOTL if you don't out of California.
Okay.
Awesome. So I just sent her the link. So we're going to try to get her on. This is a way we like to have somebody from our audience, somebody from the chat who's watching live to get to come on and talk with Tony and Jeremy and whoever our guest is. So hopefully she can jump on here quick. While we're waiting for her, I've been listening to you guys talk all night, and something really struck me. I'm a writer, and I have a couple published books. They're not bought by anybody. I work. Tony bought them. I take that back. And I work. I volunteer for a literary magazine that's based out of Michigan, and the writing industry and the writing for art sounds so much like what you guys were talking about when you were saying you blended these cigars for yourself at first, and then you had to kind of grow and expand beyond that to like write for that's what I'm going to say, to blend for other people and to blend for other palettes. Because like a lot of times when you start writing, and I've worked with done writing classes and writing groups, you're taking people who are only writing for their own emotional interest or their own venting, their own kind of creative energies. And then you have to kind of take a person like that and get them to a place where it's like, well, if you want to do this for a living, if you want to grow your audience, if you want to expand, your horizon in that way, you have to figure out a way to bridge the gap between what you like and what sounds good to you into an audience, the audience member's mind, into somebody who's going to read it. And there's just such an interesting parallel. And all of that being said, my question for you is, do you have a favorite like project that you've worked on, that one that lingers in the back of your mind, maybe one that you no longer even have any samples of it anymore, it's gone, but do you have something, Willie, that's like, man, that was my favorite project, even if it's from the days with Titan or if it's with Drew Estates?
No, man, nothing that I can say is my favorite. Every single one is special, it's every single one has its own story, whether it's a collaboration you did with someone, or it was your very first cigar, or if it was, for example, let's say the Liga 10-year anniversary. So that cigar, it had to come out and it had to live up to the Liga Privada line that's been out. Every stick, every blend, it's special, and it's got its own thing. And reason for being, and they're all good. To me, it's kind of like saying, who's your favorite kid? Who do you love more, your first or your second?
Oh, I can answer
that. Every stick for me is just as special, man, because it's got a story behind it. There's a reason why it came out. Maybe you worked on it with somebody. It's just, I could never pick one, whether it's from my days at El Titan or my days, here with Drew, and all the stuff I come out with, whether it was the Herrera Habano, my very first cigar, or Norteño, the first time I was able to release or make a box press cigar, or the Herrera TAA, the very first time I was able to use broadleaf since joining the company, or the Liga 10-year anniversary, first real big boy stick since becoming the blender for the company. I mean, every single one is just, whoa, wow, this is awesome, So I can't pick one, man.
To be nerdy, sorry, Jeremy, real quick, to be nerdy, working with, what do you think about working with San Andres tobacco versus working with broadleaf tobacco? Because in my experience, like San Andres gets very kind of bitter and dry, and it's a little bit more difficult to work with, and broadleaf is so sweet. And I don't know, I just wanted to hear your thoughts on working with both.
That's
of those.
the nerdiest cigar question I think we've ever asked.
Well, the Norteño is amazing, and it's another one of my favorite cigars that he's done. And I've tasted a lot of San Andres tobaccos, and they're really dry and they're really bitter. And I'm just curious as to how you kind of subverted that, and then if you worked with broadleaf and you were like, oh, this is way easier, or you know what I mean?
There's never really an easier tobacco to work with. At the end of the day, it all depends what type of profile it is you're trying to create, what type of cigar you want. And, going to what Jeremy was saying earlier, when you're going into the blending process, what in your mind you're thinking, okay, this is going to give me great spice or great sweetness or great this, and you put the cigar together and it's sour and it's bitter, and you're like, what the hell happened? This is supposed to be super sweet based off of all these tobaccos. The same happens with different wrappers. Some wrappers just don't work well with other binders, or it could be certain seed types within those binders, or certain seed types within the fillers in the blend. So over time, you kind of learn, okay, what works well with broadleaf, what works great as a binder with broadleaf. Like you take Herrera Brazil, that's got a broadleaf binder with Brazilian Matafina wrapper, and then the blend is Dominican with Nicaraguan. You take the TAA, and that's broadleaf with Brazil in the binder and all Nicaraguan filler. So I mean, it all depends what you're trying to create, what type of profile you're trying to achieve. Obviously, if you're trying to do something, milder, let's say, with a broadleaf, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to get, because broadleaf for me, it gives me more of that kind of earthy. It's got a nice little spice to it. It does have that sweetness, but it depends what bind you're using with it and what other fillers you're using with it. For me, San Andres, it does have a little bit of that sweetness too, but it's more of that kind of bitter sweet chocolate. Not quite that milk chocolate, but it's got a lot of earthiness to it as well. So it all depends what you're trying to achieve, man.
Dude, you're making me want to eat San Andreas right now.
There's no favorite. There's no favorite. Obviously, there's wrappers that I enjoy working with more. Habano, San Andres are probably my two top favorites that I enjoy working with. But there's so many others out there, man. Pennsylvania broadleaf, Connecticut broadleaf, Arapiraca, Matafina. Nicaraguan Habano. Then you have all these hybrids and all these crosses now that they're coming out with. It's just it's hard. Again, it's hard to pick a favorite, man.
Do you have a tobacco that you've been wanting to use that you haven't found the right blend for yet?
There is a tobacco that I've been wanting to use, which I haven't worked with much yet, and that's Costa Rican tobacco. Costa Rican tobacco is, I would say, for me, is probably one of the most unique tobaccos out there. Out of all of the tobaccos you normally hear about.
Man, whatever happened to Jamaican tobacco? Remember back in the day that Magneto Jamaica, man.
Yeah.
That cigar was.
Well, even Costa Rican, right? You're talking like a lot of them, the cigars I've had like back Grey Cliff, right? That used to use a lot of like Costa Rican tobacco. They had like, to me, like tea-like flavors. Like
very light, delicate,
like
kind of
delicate, very aromatic, like flowery, almost like, but they're really pleasant. But like a lot of the cigars I had that were like predominantly Costa Rican had like a thin flavor. Like I wanted more meat to it, but it's only because it's just like, it's more aromatic and like, you know, and I don't know if that's typical or if those are just the cigars I smoked that happen to be using some of those. Cause I've never like rolled up a Costa Rican leaf and, you know, just to see what it tastes like.
I just love the uniqueness of it, you know, because when you look at tobacco, Nicaraguan tobacco, Dominican tobacco, you know, then you break out into the different regions within Nicaragua. Is it Esteli? Is it Condega? Is it Jalapa? Is it Ometepe? Same thing with Dominican tobacco. Is it from here, from there? You know, they kind of have a general type of profile base for all of them, and then it kind of changes. But Costa Rican tobacco is just way different from anything else that I've ever had. And I'm just a fan of it, man. I just haven't been able to get my hands on enough of it to really explore that.
It's like African Cameroon. Like you can't, like, you know, it's so hard to find that specific varietal anymore because there's only, like, the Marifelds are pretty much the only people that grow African Cameroon, right? And we know who eats up most of that production. I mean, you can't even, I don't even think you can buy it.
Right.
But Costa Rica, I mean, I think the industry is not big enough to sustain a country like that for their tobacco. And I'm guessing
it's so
the same.
Expensive, man.
Yeah, I'm guessing the same is true for Jamaica. You know, go ahead, Brandon.
You're silent.
Brandon, you're muted.
Hi, my name is Brandon.
Hi,
I almost pulled a Zach, but
speaking of, he can shoot his shot. He's on here if he wants.
Yeah,
well, no. Did Maisha join us?
So I have tried to send Maisha the link through comment and through Facebook Messenger. Maisha, I don't know if you're out there, but I've been trying to get you the link as quick as possible and then stall for time. But I haven't seen her. I haven't seen her pop into the waiting room yet. She says, "I'm here." Maisha, check your Facebook Messenger.
Or couldn't she just? Well, I don't. Use when she was a guest.
I think it actually generates a new link every time because each this is like a studio. It's like, you know what I mean? So they kind of generate a unique link every time. But she's here, so we might inevitably get her. We have.
There she
is.
So here we go.
Could you recommend anything for the end of the night?
I'm going to missile lock.
Count them down.
Something big, bold.
I got him locked.
An Italian classic.
Shoot your shot.
Maisha, how are you?
Oh my God, I can't hear you guys though.
You can't hear us.
Okay, it was like breaking up. Hi guys.
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you guys.
How you doing?
I think maybe I should go get my headphones.
Okay.
Okay, hold that thought.
All right.
All of a sudden I can hear you now, but I mean,
we should all just be in froze.
We'll fake you out and we'll pretend like we can't hear you.
That is the best bumper, by the way, I think.
You like that bumper the best? That's your favorite? Oh.
Yeah.
You know what I like about it?
What's
that
that?
jam and tune behind it.
I wonder why you like that so much.
Willie, Brandon creates our bumpers, and I create the music behind them.
Nice. Team effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maisha, so do you have any questions for Willie?
Oh man.
No, I'm gone.
Oh, there you
Ask her
Okay.
again.
Aisha, do you have any questions for Willie?
I do. I think you know me. I like to talk shit a little bit. So I was going to ask him. Tell me your like a Drew Estate underrated cigar.
Tell you your what? My Drew Estate what?
Underrated. Don't get enough love.
Underrated.
Liga Privada.
Yeah, no.
What?
Not because it's one of mine, but definitely Norteño would be one of them.
Which is crazy to me. It's such a good cigar.
What?
Yeah, for sure. See, somebody said.
Yeah.
Norteño. It's definitely one of them. Let me see what other one. I would say maybe KFC, the Kentucky Fire Cured, would be another one.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I smoke both of those. I enjoy them very much. But I guess.
Well, I think with Norteño, what happened was, if you remember when they first came out, before the new style boxes that you see now, when they were just in the little 10-count boxes, they were way flatter. They were way, more awkward, I guess, especially in the smaller ring gauges. They weren't chunky. They were kind of flat. And then when we changed all the packaging for Herrera and kind of streamlined everything, it's the same style packaging now for the Habano, for the Brazil, and the Norteño. When we went to that new box, I changed the box press of the Norteño. So now they're much chunkier. They're still box press, but it's got an even softer box press, not as aggressive as the originals that came out. And I think that kind of people didn't accept it, or it was too weird for them when it came out, maybe because they were flatter. They were much, they were skinny cigars, because of that real aggressive press that they had. But they're doing better, and they're slowly getting out there into people's hands again, and they're trying it again for a second time from that original run that we had. And then with the Fire Cured, it's just such a different cigar. That smokiness, that peatiness.
Dude, those little matchsticks, Willie, are. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but those little matchstick ones, I love those. The little, the real thin little matchstick KFCs. Those things are so good.
Ash Cops, you talking about the tins?
No, the ones that came in like the tube. You know which ones I'm talking about? They're like a 33 ring gauge or something. They're like 5x33. I can't remember what they're called.
No, the 4x32s.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the tins.
Oh, those are in the tins now?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, those in the tins. So we had the Ligas, we had the Undercrowns, you got the KFCs. Yeah, those are fantastic, man. Quick, short smokes. You get what you need, especially in those cold places. You just get your fix and keep on going.
Well, can we do a shot with Maisha, and then we will close out today's episode. It's been an awesome one. You guys ready?
No.
I'm ready.
No, Maisha's not.
Oh, Maisha's like, I gotta run back in the house. I gotta get my drink.
Hey, I'm not trying to make this weird, but isn't it like true that it's always the guys ready to go before the woman?
Yeah.
I guess.
Whatever.
I'm just saying, it's kind of par for the course.
It's always true.
Shot number 6.
Whoa, done.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Cheers to Willie. thank you for being our guest. Thanks for
Maisha,
being our
thanks for
pal.
coming
Thank you, Maisha, for joining us. We appreciate you guys.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And we fulfilled. Will Marxis was out there demanding that we do a shot, but he's right. We should always do a shot with our shoot your shot guest. Willie, there was one thing that I thought of that when you're talking about the Norteña that I just wanted to sneak in here at the end. It's gonna be my nerdiest question ever, which is like I noticed that when the San Andreas cigars, like there was multiple San Andreas cigars that came out all relatively around the same time, and I'm going to do my best to remember their names. But there was yours, and there was the Jericho Hill, and that was by Crown Head. And then there was the glove, the velvet glove or satin glove, and there was one other that is totally escaping my mind. But they all came out, and they were all box pressed. And I didn't know, is that a function of the leaf itself of San Andreas? Does the form of that somehow influence the flavor profile or the way it burns? Because it was kind of strange that all these San Andreas wrappers all came out box pressed within, like, I don't know, the same kind of window of each other. Does that matter at all, or is that just totally a random coincidence?
Coincidence, man.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it always, for me, my experience has been, with any new release, it happened with the Norteño. It happened with the Herrera Brazil. When we released Herrera Brazil, there was like 3 or 4 other brands that also came out using Brazilian Marafina wrapper. When I came out with the Undercrown Shade, that year is like 3 or 4 other Connecticut Shade cigars that came out. It's not, something you're like, you have some inside scoop. Oh man, so and so is gonna come out with the Connecticut Shade. Let's come out with the Connecticut Shade. It just happens that way for some reason, and I don't know why. It's not planned. It's not talked about.
So
at least
strange.
When you look at the industry, you look at your portfolio and you look at what you want to avoid, you want to fill in your portfolio, and you come out with that, and then get to the show, and then there's like another 4, 5, 6 other brands that have that same wrapper. I don't know why, man, or how that happens, dude, but it's happened to me quite a few times, man.
That's weird. I've noticed that I follow the movie industry very closely. I love movies and I love the film industry in general. And I've just noticed that like there'll be 5 Robin Hood movies that will come out like in a year, or there, like there's that famous situation, and this is so off topic, but like, Armageddon and Deep Impact came out like within 2 months of each other. And, they plan these movies out in advance, just like you guys plan the cigars out, and they just come out and they have the same. It's just that's a fascinating coincidence. It must be everybody's kind of collective thought going in that direction. But anyway, let's close. Let's close the episode. Willie, where can people find you online if they want to follow your social media accounts?
Herrera Esteli, just like the cigar, on Instagram.
Awesome.
Very simple. I don't do much of Facebook. I don't do Twitter. It's just Instagram. So I'll post pictures there on the factory when I'm over there. Pictures of different, random things I'm doing, whether we're out mudding, ATV riding, or we're out fishing, or whatever. I'll just try to put a bunch of different stuff out there. People tend to think, oh man, all you do is just tobacco 24/7. No, man, I do this and I do that, and people are like, really, you fish? Oh, what, you spearfish? You what? So I'll put random pictures up there, and yeah.
I recommend you take up alligator wrestling.
I'll try that too, bro. But first I gotta catch a damn catfish, bro. I've done it twice. I gotta do it again, and I gotta hook one up. I gotta grab one, man.
My grandfather told us stories of himself wrestling alligators, and we all thought big fish story here. When he passed a couple years back, they found videos because he was a sheriff. He worked on the Panama Canal as it was being built, and there were pictures of him with gators wrestling. Now they aren't 12-foot gators,
right?
But we were like, no shit. He actually did wrestle gators. And I was just like, I think he just became the toughest man I ever knew. You know,
Right.
like we thought he was like full of it. Nope. He wrestled
Yeah.
gators.
The old man did his thing, bro.
I catch a catfish all the time online dating.
Oh my god. Tony, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Bellato, BELLATTO, at La Barba Cigars, at Four Shot Show, at Youngstown Coffee Company, at Viva La Vida Cava, at all the stupid shit that I do in my life.
Jeremy, yours is much more simple. Where can people find you?
The California Hillbilly, Instagram. There it is. Friday mornings, if you'd like to join, we Zoom. Go and you can grab the link and then type it in, and you can hang out and smoke. We just grab your coffee, smoke a cigar for an hour. We do it every Friday morning. So feel free to join in, whoever you are.
Awesome. Well, guys,
what about you, Brandon? We have requests for your books. Sims wants to know where she can find your literature.
Sims, well, I'll make sure I send Sims a link here once I'm done working. I'm working right now. I got to do this shit first. But you can find me on Instagram at BrandonNoel85, and I'm on Twitter at _mongrel. That's where I do most of my poetry shit, is on Twitter. That's my private space. That's where I keep that segregated. That boring shit, it's over there, so nobody knows about it. The socials for the show, like Tony said, are at Four Shot Show with Tony and Jeremy on Instagram, where we post our highlights and our upcoming guests. And we have an email account, fourshotshow@gmail.com, where you can send us your funny videos of you taking shots in funny situations, or just doing a funny thing like Jeremy jumping into a pool, grabbing his crotch and not having a shirt on. And we will work it in to our shot bumper rotation. I'm always looking for funny stuff that you guys find out there, and you can just send that in. I've got the email underneath there. Thank you, guys. Will, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for coming and spending your time. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely. See you guys soon.
Yes, and we will see everybody back here next Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. We are here. We do it without fail. Good night, everybody.